obviously the question is, at what point do you change your prediction? How rattled are you by that vulgar display of power that the Boston Celtics put together last night?
A little bit rattled.
Are
for
you?
sure. I mean, that was a nice punch to the face to say, okay, yeah, you know what? There is unequivocally, this is the toughest test for the Mavericks of the entire postseason, probably by a large mile here. And we kind of, at least I did, and I know that he was playing at the ultimate height of his powers last night. We probably won't see that version of him again, but the impact of Kristaps Porzingis, and we've been watching the Celtics team go through the postseason, kind of playing with their food a little bit and struggling at times versus lowly injured Eastern Conference teams, but the difference with him there is monumental. I asked Tim Cato yesterday, is it offense or defense where he makes the biggest impact? Last night, it's like, dude, pick your poison. It's both.
Yeah.
Dominating on both ends, and the Celtics haven't had that luxury over the course of this postseason, and I did lose sight of that, and that was quite the punch to the face. I don't expect the Mavericks to be as bad across the board as they were, missing uncontested shots, Kyrie just looking awful. Even, I mean, they were playing really good defense on him, but even in his open opportunities and the dribble mishaps, just like not playing within yourself. You have Luka turning the ball over uncharacteristically as well, just a little bit lazy.
Kyrie too.
The blow-bys for Luka. I think there's a lot of stuff to clean up, obviously, but that was pretty eye-opening last night what the Celtics are capable of.
Yeah, I mean, for me, you're right about KP. We didn't know what version we were going to get of Kristaps Porzingis because he was even downplaying how healthy he was coming into it. I think he might have even surprised himself. I don't think, to me, there was ever a doubt this was going to be the toughest test for the Mavericks. Boston is damn good, but I said it yesterday at the end of the show. I kind of assumed they would lose game one. I didn't think it would be by that fashion. I kind of expected every game to be close. That first quarter was absolutely god-awful, and what really irritated me was the fact that they were getting so poorly out-rebounded and giving Boston so many offensive rebounds. And it wasn't the bigs. It was the guards, White, Pritchard coming in here and out-hustling the Mavericks to give themselves second and third opportunities. That's got to get cleaned up. I know by the end of the game, the Mavericks did a good job just on the box score to where it's evened up, 10 and 10 on the offensive rebounds. But to me, that's what really tilted things in the Celtics' favor there. But, yeah, when it comes to the shooting, you just think over the course of a 7-game series, that's going to level out. I don't think KP is going to be able to stay that hot. I don't think the Mavericks are going to shoot the ball that poorly either. And Jason Kidd's done a fantastic job of making Game 2 adjustments throughout the postseason, and that even goes back to 2 years ago during that Mavs conference finals run. So, no, I picked the Mavs in 7. I thought this was going to be a war back and forth, but the KP thing, certainly, he was absolutely brilliant for them last night.
Now, of course, Brian did pick Boston in 6. Are you feeling even more confident after Game 1, Brian?
No, because I feel like that Dallas will shoot the ball better. I felt like they had 2 really bad points of that game yesterday. The end of the first was really bad when they were still connected, and then they got connected in the third and then had a bad end of the third. Mm-hmm. So in between all that, though, maybe some things can kind of flow a little bit better. If you talk to people at the Mavs, they feel like it was really a bad shooting night for them. So we'll see if they can get that thing back on track. But I do. Those 2 points of that game that really were concerning was the end of the first, the end of the third, because you were still kind of in the game at that point. You fought your way back. But, it was a little bit concerning that you just – here's all of a sudden Boston feels your run, and then they turn around and go on a run of their own. They had gone on some big runs in that game, but it was really just 2 really bad points of that game. Dallas will play much better in Game 2.
At 877-881-1053, your feedback is welcome. What do you have for us, Chief?
Well, yeah, Missoula calls that timeout there towards the end of the third quarter with just a few minutes left, and then they go on a 14-0 run there after you had cut it to 8, and they blow you out in that moment, and they can really put it on you in an onslaught sort of fashion, especially with their 3-ball stuff. And you mentioned, Broadus, just the fact that they feel like they were just missing a lot of open shots. There's no question. From the 3-point line, you were 4 of 14 on open looks were the Mavericks. They were 8 of 23. Oof. So, I mean, think about it. They're generating almost 10 more open threes than you did, and they were actually knocking theirs down at a much better clip. Contested threes, you were 3 of 13, and they were 8 of 19. So they were hitting the open ones and the contested ones. And so in total, they over double you up in the 3-point category, and that's huge.
Landon Thomas made me feel a lot better about this, who covers the Mavs. He put out some great stats. First quarter, obviously, we know Boston led by 17. After that, it was 70-69. Boston with the 70, the Mavs with the 69. But Luka, 1 assist. Kyrie, P.J. Washington and Derek Jones Jr., specifically P.J. and Derek Jones Jr., we talked a lot about. They're going to have to be big when it comes to shooting their wide-open corner threes. They were 1 for 10 from three, and the Celtics made
maybe
16.
a little nerves there.
So, yeah, absolutely. And I think that Lively definitely had some. Like, that was not the Derek Lively we'd seen all postseason long. I expect him, especially defensively, to be much better the remainder of the series.
This is turning into some chicken soup for your Mavs soul. If you have something to add to the broth, go ahead and text that in. I have a few things. I mean, this team has lost a lot of game ones. I definitely think there's something to the fact that you kind of need to get out there and see it and then make adjustments between game one and game two. If this happens again in game two, then it will take my breath away. Then it will make me really reassess, and I'll be looking to flip-flop as early as the second quarter of game three, as far as my prediction.
Yeah, understood.
But I think there's a lot of basketball to be played between now and then, and I think, to bet on, to bet against bounce-back Luka, we've seen that so many times.
Right.
And, beyond that, in that stretch, the Celtics landed every three. They got every blocked shot with no fouls called against them, shooting fouls in the first quarter at all. Mm-hmm. So they're free rolling. The refs are like, yep, looks good to me. Go ahead and full send on these block attempts. And, some of them you could have easily called body, which would have put the Mavs on the line, stopped the bleeding. I mean, it went from 28-18 to like a 28-point deficit in the blink of an eye. The Celtics were getting every single offensive rebound that they even imagined. Hey, should I go for this one? Yes, you should. The ball's going to come to you like a magnet. Go ahead, young man. So everything went Boston's way for that stretch. And by the end of the game, they'd figured it out. They have an answer for Tatum and Brown. Okay, let's not lose the fact that they hold them to 107 and their superstars were crippled. Usually Tatum and Brown do that in a finals game and they lose by 15 or 20. Okay, it was the Celtics role players shooting the living crap out of the basketball and building this huge insurmountable lead that, was responsible for it. But now you're matching their 5 out with Kleba. Gafford plays only 4 minutes in the second half. You're a little bit sharper switching things. Yeah. Okay, so there are very significant chess piece moves to be made.
Maxi's got to shoot the ball.
For sure.
Whether you can't, I mean, to me, it was so clear. It was like everybody was trying to get the ball. And nothing wrong with getting the ball to Luka, but somebody has to start and get a little momentum going and knock some shots down. And I just felt like that it was the pass, and then, okay, Luka, good. Hey, that's fine if it gets up and ends up in his hands. But Maxi Kleba, you can't be afraid to shoot that ball. You get the opportunity and you get an open look. You got to let that thing fly. Something has got to change with the Mavs role players. I think they'll shoot the ball better, but I want to see Maxi at least take shots like Porzingis was. Porzingis is coming off a 10-11 game layoff, and all of a sudden he had a couple of line drive shots. We've seen Porzingis do that before. But we've also seen some of those things where he squares up, faces the basket, and then lets it fly. And you're like, that's going in.
Man.
But I need to see Maxi. Maxi's capable. We've seen him in the Western Conference Finals a couple of years ago knock down 45, 50% of his shots.
Heck, we saw it against the Clippers. In the first round, he was fantastic. And I asked that. That's why I asked the CA. I was like, to me, I think Maxi can really tilt this series for you if he's shooting the ball well offensively. The way he was looking last night, and he did make a couple of decent defensive plays as well, came up with a solid block. I think it was on Jaylen Brown. But I was wondering, man, do you just need to sit him? If he's not going to have the offensive confidence, I don't know. I mean, you might need to look at kind of restructuring the minutes a little bit if you're Jason Kidd. But he's gone through these stretches before. He needs to find that confidence back in that shoulder, and right now he just doesn't have it.
Yeah, he can't put up a bagel in the three-point attempt category. You're not even going to shoot one, then what's the point? I know defensively we need you, obviously, but when it comes to the small ball lineup, part of that is because we're trying to spread these fools out as well, and you got to be a threat.
I don't think they're going to give you the slobs.
Huge.
I think they're committed. Okay, fine. If you want to sit there and go ahead and take your 3-point shots, but you better knock them down. But okay, it's got to be more than just two guys shooting threes. It's got to be Maxi's got to be on board of listen, we're gonna ride or die here shooting these threes, and and I think it would help them that way. But it's difficult to see them keep passing, and nobody wanting to take that shot.
I mean, I don't know if you can plan on lobs. I think you gotta punish them on the open threes a lot more.
Yeah, that's where it is.
They're collapsing. Both Luka and Kyrie talked about it. They're collapsing if we get around them.
Yeah, we talked about that.
That's taking guys off the 3-point line. It should be offensively an easy adjustment to put you back in the hundreds. I mean, the fact that you're under 90 last night, that's not going to happen again. So you for now you chalk it up. But if you get a repeat performance in Game 2, then maybe capitulation would be appropriate. It was Bill Walton night. Says the 817. The refs were willing to make sure Boston won that game.
I gotta say, I did like the little homage they were paying with the
beautiful
with the sweaters or whatever,
and the pregame tribute video.
I didn't even see that.
Oh, it was pretty good.
Nice.
Shirts are actually pretty cool.
Yeah,
with
the
tie-dye and the tie-dye with the black. Yeah, really, really neat shirts.
It was sharp.
903. Old General drinking that Kool-Aid. Boston throttled the Mavs in Game 1. No other way around it. I don't drink anybody's Kool-Aid. Okay, I'm giving you my thoughts. Now, my thoughts might be off.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that they throttled Golden State 2 years ago in Game 1 as well. I believe Golden State came back to win that series, too.
Yeah, I mean, the Mavericks all time are undefeated in the NBA Finals when they go down 0-1.
Damn right.
So that's something to consider. And Baskey was giving us a little chicken soup as well, spreading some hopium with the idea that the Celtics have had some dominant Game 1s followed up by taking an L in Game 2 in this postseason.
Yeah.
So, and they can win huge and then not look like themselves. Now, if Porzingis, again, that's the variable that has not been a part of this run here throughout the postseason for them, and now he's there. And him coming off the bench, wasn't expecting that, but that was huge. My gosh, he was playing like a demigod.
Horford looked really good too. Horford definitely played. He looked a little more spry than I was expecting in that one.
Well, you could be spry when you're up 30.
Yeah, that'll help a little bit when you're front.
I mean, you
exactly.
could hide out there when you don't have to sit there and play lockdown defense when you're nursing a 28, 30-point lead.
But I was impressed with how he looked in the first quarter.
Sure.
I mean, he came out and got that first bucket for him. He looked pretty good. But, yeah, Mavs are 3-0 in Game 2s. I mean, I think that, hey, you can say it's homerism or whatever it is if you're a Celtic fan listening. I'm not trying to underestimate how good the Celtics are. I know they're damn good. But I also know that Jason Kidd's been really good at adjusting. So have Luka and Kyrie. I don't expect the Mavericks to look as bad as they did in that first quarter in Game 2 of this game.
Yeah, it's a new experience. Nerves a huge factor. Your role players, I think, were really bad. Everything was just a little bit off, and that happens. 214 says poor Dingus can't replicate that. I call him Perzingus. Myself. Yeah, like making that play on words, and I think that's going to have a huge impact when he gets to the AAC. I think. Right now, Kyrie is one of the coolest and most level-headed guys in the entire league, a wise man, a sage wise man, if you will. But even he was probably disrupted by the energy of the moment, last night. And that's natural, going on the road on a huge stage like this that I don't think Kyrie has been on for 6 or 7 years. And I think it did get to the Mavs in a little bit last night. But, the exact opposite is going to be true in Game 2. Holy cow, we are now set for bounce-back Luka. That's why you're optimistic.
You know what? I think it needs to be bounce-back Mavericks. I think Luka played fine for you last night.
He did struggle
saying?
defensively.
Right.
They took advantage of him on the defensive side.
I mean, to me, he was the one
danger.
guy that you could kind of rely on a little bit.
Yeah,
he was
on offense, you're right.
He started
was
to settle in.
No, the defensive side of it is, you see, their plan is clearly to make him move.
Yeah.
They're going to say, all right, move, use energy and all that, but you need everybody else to bounce back in that game.
Yeah, and I think the one Luka assist is as unheard of. Like if you told me that before the game, I would have bet you anything.
Well, you're going to say if Luka has one assist, you're going to lose that game.
Yeah, unless he scores 60-plus points, which is basically what they're saying do. Like Luka,
last night went.
You're gonna go you're gonna have to beat us sort of by yourself here. I mean, we'll see. Hopefully, Kyrie can give him something, but we're gonna make you, Luka, put up a ridiculous stat line from a point standpoint, and that's gonna be it. But they're not giving up anything assist-wise, and those lobs, those are the easiest 2 points in basketball for this team, and they were not there at all.